If you want your incomes to plummet, your net worth to collapse, your tax bills to soar, your jobs to disappear, then vote for Lion Kamala to be the tax queen.
Sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol, where they assaulted law enforcement officers. He threatened the life of his own vice president and refused to engage in the peaceful transfer of power.
Heavy punches thrown by the presidential candidates on the stump as the November 5th election draws closer. A contest in which neither has emerged with a decisive lead in any of the 7 swing states that will determine the outcome. Panel, you saw on the stage there with the vice president, former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, unofficial leader of dissident Republicans who've crossed over to wage political war on Donald Trump. Bill King, you know a lot of those folks. Will they make a difference?
Well, there's certainly a lot of Republicans I know that are not going to vote for Trump. A lot of the sort of Bush people that have just, are sick of him. I don't think it's a gigantic group of people, though. Look, when you look at the polling on this, it is unbelievably close. Most predictive models, the betting odds, everything right now has her slightly favored, but it is a very, very slight advantage. And again, this all gets down to turnout. And I think one thing that I'm really curious about is what effect is the hurricane going to have on Georgia and North Carolina especially. And generally speaking, whoever's in charge during an emergency gets a bump. That's historically what's happened. In this case, I wonder if it's going to actually affect turnout, because especially in North Carolina, especially in the rural areas, are some of those people have a hard time getting to polls? I don't know. Are they going to be displaced? And so that could be the sort of outlier black swan event in this election.
30 seconds, Bob.
So Asheville is part of that North Carolina vote, and it's devastated at this point, and it's the Austin of North Carolina, if you will. So I'm not sure how that is going to balance out in there. But I think Trump carries Pennsylvania, and I think he's got a good shot in Michigan as well, and that wraps up the game.
All right, Marcus Davis, Kamala Harris, bringing up an issue you brought up here, whether Donald Trump tried to overthrow our country.
No, it's not a weather. I mean, it was right there on television for the whole world to see. And people who shake their heads, I do not understand, because it was real. Ask the police officers who died whether it was peaceful. Ask the men and women in blue who were beaten whether it was peaceful or not. Ask the threats on the vice president's life whether it was peaceful. I read an op-ed the other day, I was just telling Bill, that was written in the Voice of Canada saying, "Dear my friend America, what the hell is going on? Have you lost your mind?" And it went to describe the condition of America. Now, yeah, Canada has its own issues, according to Bill, but it was a real question of what the hell is going on in our country. And shout out to Liz Cheney for standing up. And I know Bill said it's not a lot of the Republicans, but it should be. I've called on reasonable Republicans to come to the forefront and do what's right for this nation.
Holly, is it ancient history in the minds of voters?
Ancient history. I think what's in the mind of voters are those important issues of border security, public safety, and the economy. And I think that rises above, a lot of conflict about what happened on January 6th. You can argue that President Trump behaved very badly. It's already been shown that there were no crimes committed by President Trump at that time. There's new charges, and they're trying to get him on that. But it goes back to these key issues. And in relation to the hurricane, well, yes, sometimes the person in charge gets a bump from a disaster like that. In this case, there's a lot of criticism going around about how the administration has managed relief efforts, and you've had to have all these private entities come out and deliver supplies, and FEMA's out of money.
Hold that thought. We can talk more about it in overtime.